The signal arrived on a Tuesday. Dr. Sarah Chen was halfway through her third cup of coffee when the arrays at HFY picked up the transmission. At first, she thought it was an equipment malfunction. The pattern was too regular, too precise to be natural. But as the data streamed across her holographic display, her hands began to shake, and it wasn't from the caffeine. "Get me the director," she whispered to her AI assistant. Now. Within hours, observatories across Earth confirmed what Sarah had discovered. Humanity was not alone. The signal originated from a point near Alpha Centauri, broadcasting on a frequency that shouldn't have been possible according to current physics models. It was a beacon, an invitation, and a warning all wrapped into one. Director James Morrison stood before the United Earth Council 3 days later, his weathered face illuminated by the chamber's soft blue lighting. "Ladies and gentlemen," he began, "what we're dealing with isn't just first contact. It's first contact with a civilization that has been watching us, studying us, for centuries." The chamber erupted in murmurs. Ambassador Chen, Sarah's mother, raised her hand. "Explain." "The signal contains data, massive amounts of it. We've only decoded a fraction, but what we found..." Morrison paused, collecting his thoughts. "They've been monitoring us since the Industrial Revolution. They call themselves the Collective of Advanced Species, and they've deemed us ready for elevation." Elevation. The word came from General Maria Santos, her dark eyes narrowing. "To what exactly?" Morrison's expression darkened. "They want to guide our development, share technology, but only what they deem appropriate. Integration into their society, but on their terms. They'd done this before with other species." The silence that followed was deafening. Humanity had spent centuries wondering if they were alone in the universe. Now they knew they weren't. And their first contact came with strings attached. "There's more," Morrison continued. "The signal includes coordinates for a meeting point. They expect representatives from Earth to arrive within one standard revolution of our planet. They've even included basic plans for an FTL drive they consider suitable for our level of development." General Santos stood, her uniform crisp despite the late hour. "They're testing us, seeing how we'll respond to authority." "Agreed," Ambassador Chen said. "The question is, what do we tell them?" The debate raged for hours. Some argued for accepting the collective's offer. It was peaceful first contact after all. Others saw it as thinly veiled colonialism on a galactic scale. But it was Dr. Wei Zong, head of the Quantum Defense Initiative, who changed everything. "We don't need their FTL drive," he said quietly. The room fell silent. "Project Prometheus. It's ready." General Santos' eyes widened. "The prototype was successful." Zhang nodded. "We achieved stable faster-than-light travel 3 months ago. We've been running tests in the Kuiper Belt. Our drive, it's different from what they're offering. More efficient. And they don't know about it." Morrison leaned forward. "You're suggesting we reveal we've already developed FTL capability?" "No," John replied. "I'm suggesting we use what they don't know about us to our advantage." The plan took shape quickly. Earth would respond to the signal, accepting the invitation for contact. But they wouldn't use the collective's drive plans. Instead, the newly commissioned ESS Defiant would make the journey, a ship built with technology the collective didn't know humanity possessed. As the Defiant prepared for launch, Dr. Sarah Chen stood in the observation deck, watching the massive vessel's quantum drive core pulse with energy. The ship represented everything humanity had achieved on their own. Their ingenuity, their determination, their refusal to accept limitations placed upon them by others. "They think they're uplifting us," she murmured to herself, "but they don't understand. We've been reaching for the stars on our own terms since we first looked up at the night sky." The Defiant's launch was scheduled for dawn. As the sun rose over Earth, humanity prepared to step onto the galactic stage, not as students awaiting instruction, but as equals ready to forge their own path among the stars. And in the vast darkness of space, the collective waited, unaware that their carefully laid plans for humanity's controlled advancement were about to be shattered by the very species they thought they were elevating. The first lesson in galactic diplomacy was about to begin, and it wouldn't be humanity doing the learning backslash. The ESS Defiant emerged from quantum space exactly where the collective had specified, but not how they'd expected. Instead of the crude FTL drive they'd provided plans for, the massive warship materialized with a ripple of dark energy that sent the collective's sensors into chaos. On their command ship's bridge, First Speaker Vaxtol's crystalline appendages vibrated with alarm. Impossible, the sensor operator chimed, their bioluminescent patterns flashing in distress. The humans, they didn't use our drive specifications. Vaxtol floated closer to the main display. The human vessel before them defied everything they knew about emerging civilizations. Its hull gleamed with a material their sensors couldn't identify, and energy readings suggested shielding technology that shouldn't exist for at least another 1,000 years of guided development. Open communications, Vaxtol ordered, their voice maintaining the carefully cultivated tone of superiority that had worked on countless other species. Let us welcome our students. The screen flickered to life, revealing Captain Diana Rodriguez of the ESS Defiant. Her dark eyes carried the weight of command, and her expression showed neither awe nor submission. First Speaker Vaxtol, she said, her universal translator perfectly rendering their language. Another surprise. Humanity accepts your invitation for dialogue. However, we should establish something first. We're not here as students. Vaxtol's crystalline form shifted colors, a sign of agitation they couldn't quite suppress. Captain Rodriguez, surely you understand that the collective's guidance is essential for proper integration into galactic society. The drive plans we provided were studied and archived. Rodriguez interrupted smoothly. We appreciated the gesture, but as you can see, we've developed our own solutions. The bridge of the Defiant behind her hummed with activity. Humans moved with purpose, their technology a seamless blend of holographic interfaces and physical controls. None of it matched the appropriate technology the collective had prepared to share. This is unprecedented. Another collective member spoke up, their designation marking them as a science observer. Your species was barely achieving solar system exploration when we sent the signal. The advancement rate is threatening, Rodriguez suggested, or perhaps just unexpected. We've found that humanity tends to exceed expectations when challenged. Vaxtol's colors shifted again, this time to the deep blue of diplomatic caution. Your achievements are impressive, but surely you understand the dangers of unrestricted technological advancement. The collective's guidance helps prevent catastrophic mistakes, like the ones you made. The new voice came from Dr. Sarah Chen, stepping into view beside Captain Rodriguez. We decoded more than just your invitation. First Speaker, we found the records of your own civilization's early development. The wars, the accidents, the near-extinction events. Silence fell across both bridges. The collective's carefully maintained image of perfection cracked slightly. That data was encrypted, the science observer whispered. It was. Chen agreed. And now it's not. Humanity doesn't just build ships, First Speaker. We solve puzzles. We break barriers. And most importantly, we learn from history, including yours. Captain Rodriguez stepped forward. We're willing to engage in diplomatic relations with the collective, but as equals. Our ship carries representatives ready to discuss trade agreements, cultural exchange, and mutual defense pacts. What we won't discuss is submission disguised as guidance. The Defiant hung in space, its quantum drive casting a subtle distortion in the fabric of reality around it. To the collective sensors, it was like watching a young species wave around technology that should have destroyed them. Yet there they were, not just surviving but thriving. Vaxtol's crystalline form finally settled into the white hue of acceptance. Perhaps, they said slowly, we should adjourn to the diplomatic chamber. It seems we have much to discuss. As the initial meeting was arranged, Dr. Chen studied the collective's ship through the Defiant's quantum sensors. Their technology was impressive, yes, but it was stagnant. Every solution was safe, tested, and approved by countless committees over countless centuries. They forgot how to innovate, she muttered to Rodriguez as they prepared to board the collective's vessel. They traded creativity for security. Then let's remind them what they've lost, Rodriguez replied, checking her neural interface one last time. After all, teaching goes both ways. The diplomatic shuttle launched from the Defiance Bay, carrying humanity's representatives toward their first official meeting with galactic civilization. Behind them, the quantum drive continued its impossible existence, a testament to humanity's refusal to accept limitations, even those set by the stars themselves. The collective's diplomatic chamber was designed to inspire awe. Crystalline spires stretched toward a ceiling that simulated the galaxy's spiral arms, while anti-gravity platforms kept different species at their preferred atmospheric pressures. It had cowed countless emerging civilizations into compliance. The humans looked unimpressed. Ambassador Elena Santos, sister of General Maria Santos, studied the chamber with the practiced eye of someone used to reading between lines. "Interesting choice of decoration," she said, gesturing to the holographic displays showing the collective's achievements. "Though I notice they all focus on your role as teachers." Vaxtol's crystalline form shimmered with what might have been embarrassment. "We are proud of our mission to guide younger species." "Guide?" Dr. Chen's fingers danced across her neural interface, bringing up her own holographic display. "Or control. We've analyzed the development patterns of the last 12 species you've elevated. Their technology, their governance, even their art. All of it mirrors collective standards." The science observer, who had introduced themselves as Angstara, floated closer. "Standardization ensures stability. Before the collective, species would develop chaotically. Wars were common. Entire civilizations would vanish overnight. Like the Zenthari." Ambassador Santos asked quietly. The chamber went silent. Even the artificial gravity seemed to hesitate. "That information was in the most secure archives," Vaxtol said, their color shifting to deep crimson. "How did you?" "The same way we developed our quantum drive," Captain Rodriguez interrupted. "We looked at the problem from angles you never considered. The Zenthari weren't destroyed by their own advancement. They were sealed away because they refused your guidance." Angstara's bioluminescence pulsed rapidly. "They were dangerous, unpredictable. Their technology was different from yours," Dr. Chen finished. "Just like ours is. That's why you're afraid." The accusation hung in the air like a physical thing. Other collective members had begun to gather at the chamber's edges, their various forms betraying similar signs of agitation. Ambassador Santos stood, her diplomatic uniform a stark contrast to the collective's organic aesthetics. "We're not here to threaten you. But we're also not here to be shaped into your image of what a civilized species should be." She gestured, and her neural interface projected a new set of images. Earth's history. Not just the achievements, but the failures, the wars, the environmental disasters, the near misses with extinction. "We've made mistakes," Santos continued. "Horrible ones. But we've learned from them. Not by following someone else's carefully planned path, but by facing our failures and adapting. That's something your guided species never get to do. And look at what it's cost them," Vaxtol countered. "Look at how many died before they became perfect." Rodriguez's voice carried an edge. "Because that's what this is really about, isn't it? The collective doesn't guide species to protect them. You do it to perfect them, to remove the chaos and uncertainty that frightens you so much." Dr. Chen's interface beeped softly. "Captain, we're picking up quantum fluctuations. More collective ships are arriving." "A standard precaution," Angstara said quickly. "Nothing to be concerned about." Rodriguez smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Funny, we detected them powering up their weapons too." Another standard precaution. The chamber's artificial gravity hiccuped as more collective members reacted. They weren't used to species who could see through their deceptions, who could match or exceed their technological capabilities. Perhaps, Ambassador Santos said into the tense silence, we should discuss what happens next. Humanity won't be contained or controlled. But we're willing to be allies. Real ones, not subordinates dressed up as students. And if we refuse? Vaxtol's color had stabilized into a dangerous deep purple. If we decide your uncontrolled advancement poses too great a risk. The answer came not from the diplomatic team, but from the space around them. The Defiant's quantum sensors had detected a dozen collective ships trying to establish a containment grid. In response, 20 more human vessels dropped out of quantum space, their drives causing ripples in reality that the collective's sensors struggled to process. The next 48 hours became a dangerous dance of diplomacy and display of force. The collective's containment fleet had grown to 30 vessels, their crystalline hulls refracting starlight in ways that would have been beautiful if not for the charged weapon arrays clearly visible beneath the surface. Humanity's response was equally measured and equally threatening. 40 ships now surrounded the diplomatic zone, their quantum drives creating a lattice of spatial distortions that effectively trapped both fleets in a web of altered spacitime. They're testing our capabilities, General Maria Santos observed from the bridge of the ESS Aegis, the newest addition to Earth's fleet, trying to find our limitations. Her tactical officer, Lieutenant James Chen, nodded. They've probed our quantum field 7 times in the last hour, each attempt more sophisticated than the last. Let them look, the general replied. Sometimes the best defense is letting your opponent know exactly how strong you are. On the collective's command ship, First Speaker Vaxtol was facing a crisis unprecedented in their 50,000 years of guiding younger species. Their Science Council had just delivered a report that shattered centuries of assumptions. Explain this again, Vaxtol demanded, their crystalline form flickering between colors of disbelief and fear. Science observer Angstera's bioluminescence pulsed with agitation. The humans, they didn't just develop FTL travel differently. They approached the fundamental laws of physics from a completely novel perspective. Their quantum drive doesn't just move through space. It manipulates the underlying fabric of reality in ways our science considered theoretical. Impossible. No species cold. They did, another council member interrupted. And that's not all. We've detected signs of other technologies. Gravity manipulation beyond our current capabilities, energy patterns we can't explain, and computing systems that appear to operate on quantum principles we haven't mastered. In the diplomatic chamber, Ambassador Santos could sense the shift in atmosphere. The collective's representatives had become more agitated, their questions more pointed. Dr. Sarah Chen noticed it too. They're afraid, Chen whispered to Santos. Not just of our technology, but of what it represents. The death of certainty, Santos replied. Everything they built their society on. The idea that there's one right path of development, one proper way to advance. We've proven wrong simply by existing. The tension broke in an instant. A young collective ship captain, acting on centuries of ingrained superiority, launched a containment field at one of the human vessels. It was meant to be non-lethal, a standard tool for subduing less advanced species. The human ship, the ESS Challenger, didn't try to evade. Instead, its quantum field shifted, absorbing the containment energy and redirecting it into a harmless burst of light. Captain Lisa Zhang's voice came across all channels, calm but carrying an edge of steel. That was your free lesson in human capabilities, she announced. The next demonstration will be considerably less peaceful. The collective's fleet froze. Humanity's ships tightened their formation, quantum fields humming with barely restrained power. One wrong move would trigger a conflict that could reshape galactic society. Then, something unexpected happened. A new signal cut across all communications channels. The source was a small ship that had just dropped out of FTL travel, but not quantum space. Its design was entirely alien to both humanity and the collective. "This is Ambassador Kex of the Zenthri Remnant," a melodious voice announced. "We've been watching these proceedings with great interest. Perhaps now is the time for some historical context." Vaxtol's form nearly shattered in shock. The Zenthri were quarantined. "How did you escape your containment?" Kex's voice carried a hint of amusement. "The same way humanity found us, by thinking beyond the boundaries you tried to set. We've been watching, waiting for another species to prove that the collective's way isn't the only path to the stars." The revelation hit both fleets like a physical force. The collective's carefully maintained narrative of being the galaxy's sole guardians of proper development had just been completely undermined, and humanity's strength had just been validated by living proof that their path wasn't unique. The next few moments would determine whether this revelation would lead to understanding, or ignite the very conflict the collective had spent millennia trying to prevent. Dr. Chen's neural interface was practically singing with new data as she studied the Zenthri ship. Their technology. It's completely different from both ours and the collective's. They found a third path. Not just a third path, Ambassador Santos said, her eyes gleaming. They found their own path, just like we did, just like every species should have the right to do. The galaxy held its breath, waiting to see how the collective would respond to the shattering of their most fundamental beliefs. First Speaker Vaxtol stood in the Great Hall of Communion, addressing not just the collective's High Council, but representatives from dozens of their guided species. The Zenthri Ambassador Kex floated serenely nearby, while humanity's delegation, led by Ambassador Santos and Dr. Chen, waited with quiet confidence. For 50,000 years, Vaxtol began, their crystalline form reflecting the light of 1,000 stars. We believed we were protecting the galaxy. We thought we were preventing chaos, avoiding the mistakes that nearly destroyed our own civilization in its youth. They paused, colors shifting through a spectrum of emotions never before displayed to other species. We were wrong. The hall erupted in murmurs. Some species that had been under collective guidance for millennia showed visible signs of distress. Others leaned forward, hope kindling in eyes and sensory organs that had long been taught to accept limitation as protection. Ambassador Kex moved forward, their ethereal form casting subtle patterns across the chamber's walls. The Zenthri refused your guidance not out of arrogance, but because we saw what you couldn't. Evolution, whether biological or technological, requires freedom to fail, to learn, to grow beyond predetermined boundaries. Dr. Chen stepped up to the central platform, her neural interface projecting a complex quantum equation that hung in the air like a challenge. This is how humanity achieved faster-than-light travel. It's different from both the collective's method and the Zenthri approach. 3 species, 3 solutions to the same problem. Imagine how many other solutions exist, waiting to be discovered by minds free to explore. But the risks, a collective elder began, are real. Ambassador Santos interrupted. We've never denied that. But look at what your fear of those risks has cost the galaxy. How many innovations, how many discoveries, how many unique perspectives have been lost because you insisted there was only one safe path forward. The Zenthri ship had provided proof of their claims. In the 3 days since their arrival, they had shared glimpses of technology that approached similar problems from completely different angles than either humanity or the collective. It was living proof that diversity in development didn't mean inevitable destruction. Captain Rodriguez, standing with her fellow ship commanders, spoke next. Earth's history is filled with moments where we stood on the brink of disaster. But each time, it was our freedom to think differently, to try new solutions, that saved us. You can't eliminate risk by eliminating innovation. What do you propose? Vaxtol asked, their tone suggesting they already knew the answer. Ambassador Santos stepped forward. A new galactic compact, not built on control and guidance, but on genuine cooperation and exchange, where species are free to develop along their own paths, with open sharing of knowledge, including failures, where diversity of thought and approach is seen as strength, not danger. The collective would have no authority to control other species' development, Kex added. Instead, they could serve as true teachers, sharing their experience while learning from others. The hall fell silent as the implications sank in. Centuries of carefully maintained order teetered on the edge of transformation. Then, one by one, representatives from the guided species began to stand. "The Nexari support this proposal," came the first voice. "The Kelvin consciousness agrees," echoed another. The Meridian collective votes in favor. A cascade of affirmations followed, each species awakening to the possibility of charting their own course while still being part of a larger galactic community. Dr. Chen's neural interface captured the moment the vote became official. Humanity had done more than prove themselves equals. They had catalyzed a fundamental shift in galactic civilization. "There will be challenges," Vaxtol acknowledged, their color settling into a new hue never before seen in their species, one that spoke of acceptance and hope rather than control. "Some species may fail. Others may take paths we don't understand or approve of." "Yes," Ambassador Santos agreed, "but that's the price of true progress. And we'll face those challenges together, as equals, each bringing our unique perspectives and solutions to the table." The new Galactic Compact was signed that day. The collective would transform from controllers to coordinators, maintaining networks of communication and exchange between species, but no longer dictating their paths. The Zenthri would emerge from isolation to share their unique developments, and humanity would help bridge the gap between old and new, their very existence a reminder that there was always another way to solve a problem. As the Earth delegation prepared to return home, Dr. Chen found herself standing with Tara, watching ships of various species experimenting with different drive technologies in open space. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" she said. "The variety. The innovation. This is what the galaxy was supposed to look like. We were so afraid of chaos that we forgot its creative potential," Tara admitted. "Thank you for teaching us to embrace uncertainty again." In the void of space, quantum drives pulsed alongside crystalline engines and Zenthri gravity wells, each technology a testament to the infinite possibilities that arise when minds are free to explore, to fail, and to triumph in their own unique ways. Humanity had come to the stars prepared for conflict, but had instead sparked a revolution of thought. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what it needed.